Morning. The Mishnah Berurah in Siman Yud Ches, we've been learning Siman Nun Gimel, but if you go back to Siman Yud Ches in Hilchos Tzitzis, the Mishnah Berurah says that whenever anybody davens for the Amud, you should wear kol oiver lifnei hateivah, tzarich lisatev should wear a talis. So that's the Mishnah Berurah paskins, whether it's the morning, whether it's the afternoon, whether it's night, whether it's Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, doesn't make any difference. Whenever anybody stands here to daven for the Amud, they should be wearing a talis. It doesn't make a difference if you're married, if you're not married, you wear a talis. Then the Mishnah Berurah says, astonishingly, which I don't think we do, I don't know anybody does it, Afa Omer Kaddish Yosem lifnei hateivah yisatev lifnei Kavod HaTzibbur. Even if somebody is saying Kaddish Yosem, I presume he's talking to a period of time where Kaddish worked a little bit different and only one person said Kaddish and there was a rotation in the Kaddish. And he would also stand in front of the tzibur, not necessarily the chazan, but he would stand in front of the tzibur. That the person saying Kaddish must be the chazan is a newer thing. But he would say it by himself, Kaddish, and he would also have to wear a talis. So why does a Shaliach Tzibbur have to wear a talis? This begins with the Chazal. Chazal say that when Moshe Rabbeinu was on Har Sinai, advocating for the Bnei Yisrael, as does a Shaliach Tzibbur, and begging God for forgiveness, so he had a nevuah, and in that nevuah, so he saw Hashem misatev kashliach tzibur. He saw that Hashem was wearing a talis. In his nevuah, he saw that Hashem was wearing a talis, and that's why we wear a talis. So just to get the correct shot here, it's not that we wear a talis because Hashem wore a talis. Hashem wore a talis because we wear a talis. Nisatev HaKadosh Baruch Hu kishliach tzibur. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is wearing a talis, and Moshe Rabbeinu said, "It looks like a shliach tzibur." Mashma, that's the shot in the Gemara. Mashma that even back then, a shliach tzibur would wear a talis of some sort, lifnei Kavod HaTzibbur. So somebody would get up and lead the people in prayer. I don't know if they had a talis as we have a talis, but they would put on an extra beged. And in this, there are a number of background reasons. One reason is because back to Siman Nun Gimel where we're learning, so it says that the whoever becomes a Shaliach Tzibbur has to be completely dressed. So and the Shulchan Aruch goes through it. We'll look at it one day. Not sleeves that are too short, not pants that are too short. Has to be dressed as if you would go in to see, let's say, the President of the United States, and that's how you dress, and that's how you're supposed to dress when you're standing in front of Hashem, Davar Pashat, that it should be like that, and lefachot, it shouldn't, so the Mishnah Berurah says there that lefachot one shouldn't down dress to daven for the Amud. In other words, you're going to dress up a little bit, and the Mishnah Berurah says there that if everybody dresses in a certain culture, everybody dresses in a way that wouldn't be acceptable in another country, let's say where we came from. So let's say here in Israel, give me an example, like you can get away without wearing a tie. So as an example, less and less, but I mean, it used to be a shita against wearing a tie. Prime Minister didn't wear a tie. So, okay, so Israel's not a tie place. You know, in yeshivas, they're makbid that, well, if you go in front of a melech, you'd be wearing a hat and jacket. But truth is, nobody puts on a hat to go, just on the contrary, take off your hat before you go see the melech. So obviously, this is akol lefi hazman v'hamakom. That's one aspect of it. What happens with the talis is it covers all evil. The talis forgives everything because the point of the talis in one shot is that it's a davar mechubad, even though probably I was thinking you wouldn't go in front of the President of the United States wearing a talis either, but it would be pretty cool to wear a talis. But it's a beged mechubad, it covers, and that's why it has to be. The poskim say a long talis and not some kind of a talis cotton or a shawl or any of those things. So that's one thing. Another thing is just in general, mipnei Kavod HaTzibbur. Kavod HaTzibbur doesn't mean that because you want to cover this up. By the way, here in the shul, we let anybody wear anything, kimat, if they're wearing a talis, because we're wearing a talis, except for makbid on socks. I don't see any heter in any of the poskim anywhere, not according to culture, not to anything, to daven for the Amud without socks on and open-toe sandals. So we don't want that here, and I don't think anybody should allow that anywhere, unless you're in the middle of farm work or something, and you're getting off your tractor and hopping a mincha. Okay, I'm not paskening for those places, but for regular shuls, we should wear socks and long pants. That's what we should wear. And other than that, so the talis takes care of it. The other reason is just general Kavod HaTzibbur. In other words, not the din Kavod HaTzibbur, as opposed to Kavod Hashem. Like, first reason is Kavod Hashem. You're standing in front of Hashem dressed like a mensch. The second reason is that it's Kavod HaTzibbur. You're standing in front of the tzibur. So here the Mishnah Berurah says once again that even though it's Kavod HaTzibbur, still the tzibur is not allowed to be moichel on this. This is not the type of Kavod HaTzibbur. Well, if it's for my kavod, I'm moichel. So even if you would have, as I said a few days ago, even if you would have a full membership meeting and they would decide we're not makbid on the Shaliach Tzibbur, this is a different type of Kavod HaTzibbur where that doesn't work. This is the type of Kavod HaTzibbur which is really Kavod Hashem. This tzibur is a type of tzibur which stands in front of Hashem. The Shaliach Tzibbur is leading the tzibur, so it's not our kavod, it's a mechubadik tzibur which is standing in front of Hashem. And the third reason given in the poskim for wearing a talis is mishum reses v'yira, that in fact when a person's wearing a talis, they feel more Yiras Shamayim. They feel like they're surrounded with mitzvahs, they feel more Yiras Shamayim, and a Shaliach Tzibbur, of course, should feel as much Yiras Shamayim as possible, and you do anything you can to try to increase the amount of Yiras Shamayim that's existing during the time of leading the tefillah. So then, because of that, the Shaliach Tzibbur wears a talis. So what is it has to do with him? What it has to do with Hashem? What is it has to do with the tzibur, the Kavod of the tzibur? But combine all three reasons. They're all emes, and in this Pesach Knesset, there's no such thing as davening, standing here in front of the Amud and davening for the Amud, even if it would be Tillim, without a talis.